Hey y'all, today we have Taylor with Pin and Pillar. Hey Taylor.
Hi, Heather.
Um, let's go ahead and dive in. I want to hear first a little bit about Pin and Pillar and why you chose the name Pin and Pillar, what that means to you.
Yeah, so I actually started Pin and Pillar a little bit by accident. My husband and I were living in St. Paul, Minnesota at the time, and I actually dropped out of college and moved overseas. I moved to the Middle East, and that's where I met my husband. And I was teaching art there in the same school that he was teaching at, and so we just kind of, we came back to the States and got married. And so because I didn't have a degree, it was really hard for me to find jobs. And so my husband was like, we had this like really beat up car. It was awesome, but it was a lot of money to like fix up. And so all of my money, I was working in an art studio at the time, all of my paycheck was going to keeping this car running. And so he was like, what if you just, left that job and you did like your own like kind of freelance art thing? And I was like, okay. I mean, he was like, we could sell the car and, he was like, if you made $5 doing that, we would literally make $5 more than we're making right now. So I was like, okay. So I actually started by doing logos, and mostly tattoo designs was actually like kind of how I was making my money at first.
Oh.
Yeah, it was really fun. And then I was like, but this isn't super sustainable because I'm awful at marketing. And so I was like, I think I need a product. I don't really know why I thought that. I was like, this is just going to fix it. And so I looked into different products that I could do as a painter. And I landed on stationery simply for the reason of it was easy and cheap to produce. And I had full creative license over the product. So I was like, I'm going to try stationery. And so we went and bought a printer, and I set up in the corner of our bedroom, and I actually started by printing all of my own products. I would stay up late at night, even like padding and cutting like notepads. Like I did all of that, and it was something.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah. And so I went through like 4 different names in the beginning. I knew nothing about business. I knew very little about art, to be honest. Even when I was in college, I wasn't studying art. I was studying international relations. So my experience was very limited in every area. So I went through a bunch of different name changes and landed on Pin and Pillar because I really wanted the name Pillar. It just kept coming to mind. And I wanted it because I wanted supporting and helping refugees to be the #1 pillar of our business. I wanted that to be like just so ingrained in the business that it literally was our name. And I was like, yeah, but that doesn't sound very artsy. So I threw Pin in there. So, yeah.
I love that. And I like the alliteration too. It rolls off the tongue. It came out good.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you make a range of products. You do cards, you do notepads, you do notebooks.
Mm-hmm.
What are your favorite products that you make?
Yeah. So honestly, like as you just heard, I kind of started stationery on a whim, but I've actually really come to love that people send our cards for encouragement, like a way to stay communicated to friends. So I really love like what our cards mean to people and why they're being sent. However, my favorite part of like maybe my childhood at all was school supply shopping.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the notebooks and I love designing the functionality of those products.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the creativity that cards bring, but I really love being creative with layouts and helping people plan,
Mm-hmm.
with some of our other products. So I don't know. I would say it kind of depends on what mood I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally feel that. I love your notebooks. I'm using one of the spiral bound notebooks as a journal right now. And the paperweight is perfect. The line spacing is perfect. Like you're right about the functionality. Like it's beautiful on the cover, but I don't care so much about that. The actual like ease of use on the inside is great. So,
well, thanks.
positive.
That was the idea. I printed so many different like widths of lines of like, and
Mm-hmm.
tested out the writing. So I'm glad to hear that you like it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I know some people like different ones, but I'm super particular about my journals and my pens. Like I have to have the right pen
Oh
to
yeah.
want to actually, sit down and write. So I
Yeah.
love them. So tell me about the refugee component of your business. Obviously, it's really important to you. I love that aspect of your business. It's one of the reasons I chose to work with you. And I want to know more about what you do with refugees and how you help them.
Yeah, so we honestly that's changed a lot since we first started, mainly because um, when we moved to North Carolina from Minnesota. My husband's from Minnesota. I'm from North Carolina, so we made the move to be closer to my family. And honestly, it ended up working out kind of in a crazy way because 10% of High Point's population is refugees, which means we have over 10,000 refugees living just in our city here, which we love. Our heart for refugees came from when we worked overseas. We worked with Palestinian refugees,
Mm-hmm.
and we really loved it. We just feel like refugees. I always tell people I do not know a refugee woman in my life who is not massively accomplished and able to overcome things that I can only imagine. And so I find the refugee women in my life to be incredibly inspiring. I learn a lot from them. And I feel like what we give to them is such a fraction of the character and resilience and just honestly, like, just the warmth that they bring to our community. And so, as we've gotten to know and befriend refugees in our hometown, the way that we work with them has really shifted a lot. And that's why we say we're a little bit vague with we say we give 10% of our proceeds to local refugee resettlement, because honestly, that really kind of depends on their needs. And so we used to give to World Relief, which is our local community nonprofit that resettles refugees. But as we get to know refugees, sometimes that means that we do give 10% to World Relief, and sometimes it means that that 10% goes to specific needs within the community with refugees that we know. So for example, like we've been able to buy a family a washer and dryer that broke that they needed. We'll get groceries for incoming families. We pay down medical bills. Going into this time, we'll be helping out with things like food and water, maybe taking them to work, dropping things off, or picking things up when they can't either afford to do so or can't leave their home because they're taking care of elderly parents or things like that. We pay legal fees when needed. So it really kind of depends on our friends' situations and what they have going on. But sometimes we're able to directly meet those needs, and sometimes there's nothing going on that month, and we just give it straight to World Relief. So that's why we kind of word it vaguely, because it really depends. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. I think it's really important that you're working directly with people to identify their needs and provide for them, because most people don't take the time to do that. And a lot of nonprofits, the bigger they are, the more bloat they have, and the less money actually gets in the hands of people who need it for the specific things that they need.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah.
It's just really important work that you're doing, and I'm happy to be able to support it with your beautiful cards. It's such a cool avenue to give people to provide. And that's one of the things that I love about having the store, is that we have a lot of products that are charitable, and it's so much more fun to have a product that you can buy that you love. Like I would buy that card anyway because it's beautiful, and then bonus, I get to provide for other people too.
Exactly.
Awesome. Really
Yeah.
awesome.
I think that's one thing that I really want people to like care about is like, I think because we give 10% of our gross proceeds. So like that sometimes means that because people support us, there are so many months where what we give to World Relief is way more than what we pay ourselves. And we literally could not do that without this business. And so like, it is literally making a difference in our community. Like, you know, if our business went away, like refugees in the community would notice. And that is literally only because people have been supporting us. And I just think that that is like, that means the world to us. Like, I can't say that enough, how, yeah, you're giving us an income and a living, and that is obviously wonderful. And we love that. But like the impact that it's making is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And your business also has a positive impact in the world in another way, because you're very focused on sustainability, which we are here too at Freehand. And so one way that we're working on sustainability here is most greeting cards come in a plastic sleeve. And so we worked with you to help reduce the number of plastic sleeves that we have by just putting out a display copy, and then we have all of your other cards under the counter, safe and package free, because people don't need the plastic sleeve in general when they're purchasing greeting cards.
Right.
So that's, one thing that we've done to try, and it's a small thing, but it makes a big difference, because it's lots and lots and lots of plastic sleeves when you add it all up.
Oh yeah.
But I would love to hear about your other sustainability efforts, because I know that your products are inherently sustainable too. Tell me about that.
Yeah, we care a lot about sustainability. When we work with, as much paper as we do, it's super important to be responsible. So we had always printed on recycled cards. I've seen even just since I started working with my print shop and ordering I started working with a print shop 3 years ago. In that time, I've really seen that because culture and people are starting to care more about sustainability, the paper industry is starting to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important that we keep talking about this, because it puts pressure on them. So that's also good. But yeah, I've seen some new innovations. I've seen the price of recycled paper go down. It's not like, oh, it's so much more. It is more, but it's not like this massive, hit to your profit margins like I think it used to be. But what happened was we started printing 100% recycled a few years ago. And we were like, so the way that regular paper, so non-recycled paper, is made versus recycled means that inherently, no matter the paper weight, if you compare 100-pound paper to 100-pound recycled paper, the recycled paper is always going to be thinner. And so we started to see an issue with that, and as far as like the quality and stuff. And so we said, well, what if our paper isn't made from trees? And so that's when our print shop showed us cotton paper. And the cool thing about cotton paper is not only is it tree free, but most cotton paper is actually made from recycled t-shirts. So it's pretty neat. Actually, it's kind of like a double whammy there. We love the feel, the softness. They're nice and thick. So that you can, write with markers or things like that inside, your Sharpie pen. So it's kind of a bonus there. They are quite a bit more expensive, but we feel like it's worth it for the impact. And again, the quality too. It's both. So there's
quality is really high. Like, I love the tree-free paper, and I actually got tree-free business cards. Hot tip for anyone who's watching this: if you go to move.com to order business cards, they have a cotton tree-free option. It is more expensive.
Yeah.
But and it's made from recycled t-shirts. But they're really high quality. Like, they're thick.
Yeah.
Cards are too. I just want to show. I just pulled one from under the desk that's not in a package. So I just wanted to show everybody who's watching what's beautiful, and you can't tell the thickness or the feel, but they're very, very nice cards.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really we like the way that the ink sits in the cotton as well. It kind of keeps that like hand painted look, a little texture there. It's nice. So yeah, and we think it's also kind of fun because so much cotton is manufactured in North Carolina, so that's kind of fun too. So yeah. And then, there are some things that we still don't have the choice to be super sustainable in, but we see things changing. So anytime that we produce a new product, we immediately research what is the recycled paper option. We've got some new notebooks coming soon that are made with, again, no paper. It's treeless paper. It's a type of non-plastic soft touch film. So it's pretty much as environmentally friendly as you can get.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they're very, it functions like a plastic. It's waterproof. It's nice and hardy, but it's got that like velvet kind of touch. It's a dream. I love it.
Oh, I can't wait to see those. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I love how your values align with my values, and I'm happy to hear about all the things that you're doing. We love supporting you because of those things. One thing that I'm curious about is that you work with your husband.
Yeah.
And so I want to know what it was like when you made the decision to work with your husband, and what it's like on the day-to-day of working together. Because I feel like that would be a big challenge for me. And so I'm curious about how it works for y'all and what the upsides and downsides of it are.
Yeah, it is a challenge. We did make the decision for Justin to work with me. He used to be a teacher, and I started to just get so overwhelmed with the amount of orders that we had coming in and still releasing new product and just all the different things, and so Justin started to become really interested more in what I was doing. He had started helping with inventory and just kind of filling in different things at night when he would get home when I needed help. And so we were like, he kind of was like, what if I just left teaching and helped you? And we just did this together. And I was like, sounds great. And that's about as much as we thought about it. So, yep. So, it's been a massive learning curve. It's been so in June, it'll be 2 years that we've been working together. And I would say, so Justin and I, we argue a lot at work. But we actually feel like that's not something that really needs to change, because we are so different that we feel like those, I mean, they're not blowout fights or anything, but the fact that we do not see eye to eye is very important. And so those discussions always need to be had. We cannot shy away from not seeing things the same way, because what ended up happening is Justin brought so much clarity and streamlined so many things that my right brain was, not good at. And so when I sit there and I'm like, oh, but we need this new product line, it's so important. And he's like, it's really not important, and our product margins are horrible, and I'm like, we have that back and forth. It's really important that we have that. So we actually see when we butt heads as a bonus and a necessary thing. I don't know how we would function. We'd be in so much debt and have a billion products if it was just me. Because I just love creating. And sometimes I forget, like, just because I can afford this print order right now doesn't mean that I can afford the reorder or, all these things that before I didn't really think about. So I am still in charge of all the creative direction. Ultimately, I do make the decisions still. But Justin is such a good, I guess, so good at bringing clarity, where I'm just wanting to do everything under the sun. So, he handles all of our orders. He handles all of our inventory. He works with all of our suppliers. He makes sure that all of our finances are in order. And then we're working right now on, this is actually kind of a blessing, this downtime. We just purchased a bunch of equipment to bring all of our notebook production in-house. So he will now work on producing all of that. And so, he just got a lot busier.
That's good. I mean, I'm glad that y'all have things that are just for future reference of anyone watching this in the future. We are right in the middle of everything shutting down to slow the spread of the coronavirus. And so we were talking earlier about what we're each doing before we started recording, with our downtime. And that's what Taylor's referencing here.
Yeah.
So I look forward to seeing what new products come out of it. I think a lot of makers are getting creative with lots of things. And so when this we've gotten past the trouble of the pandemic, I think we'll see a lot of beautiful art in the world. And I don't know how far in the future that will be, but I look forward to it when that day comes.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
So what advice would you have for a maker or an entrepreneur who's just getting started? Setting the pandemic aside for a moment, but just if things were in our normal operating environment, what would you say for someone who's just getting started as a maker?
Yeah, I would say just go for it. Like, my view has always been, you don't know what you don't know. You are not going to learn a lot of things until you're just in it. And so if you have the resiliency to say, I'm going to go for it and I will do my best to figure it out as it comes along, honestly, I think that's what's going to serve you well. You never know what's ahead. You can make so many excuses and think of so many reasons not to do something. But really the only thing that you need to have is the ability to say, no matter what happens, I will work to work it out.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I would say just go for it. Just do it.
I think that's good advice. I think that's the thing that I think people underestimate when they're getting started as an entrepreneur is the amount that your attitude plays into it. And we all have bad days. I have days where I freak out about things and think nothing's going to work out. But then I have a good night's sleep. I take a shower the next morning and I say, okay, we're going to figure this out. What needs to happen to solve this problem? So as long as you continue to come back to that, okay, I have a problem and I'm going to solve it. What needs to happen to do it? Instead of staying in the stress or fear or scarcity mindset. That's, I think, I agree with you. I think it's the biggest thing that you need in order to succeed in running your own business is that can-do attitude, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I tell people, and I mean it 1,000,000%, if I can do it, literally anyone can do it. Like, I have no background. I have no reason to think that I know what I'm doing, and I don't. Like, I did not go to school for art. I did not go to school for business. I learned everything on YouTube. You know, like, guys, you can do it.
I love it. I love that. And you're very successful. So that's a good showing people what can happen if you just believe that you can do it. What is something that you wish that people would ask you about more, but you don't get asked about very often, or something that's really important about the business that you just want to share?
Yeah, I really like that question. I would say one thing, if you could, that I really like asking, and I think this kind of goes like for anyone listening, like if you know someone who runs a small business, ask them mentally how they're doing a little bit more. Like, people love to hear about numbers. They love to hear about success and stuff, but our successes and failures are pretty public. So it would be really nice to just ask every once in a while, like, hey, how are you doing? Like, are you taking time to not work? Like, are you taking time to hang out with your family and friends? And, how are you doing with that? So that would be really nice. I like when people ask about that part. Obviously, I love talking about business and I love talking about what we have going on, but I'm a person underneath that too. I would also love for people in our community to ask us how the refugees are doing, like what's going on in their lives. The refugees that we work with, they know that people support our business that way. They know that, the way that we're helping them comes from the support that our business gets. And so they love community. They love hearing that people care about them. And so when people ask about them, that means a lot. So yeah, I think those two things, one of them was more specific to us, but the other one was more just like, ask a small business owner how they're doing.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's so nice when people ask me all the time how the business is going, but they don't ask so often how I'm doing.
Exactly.
With the mission of running the business. So
exactly.
Yeah, I totally feel you on that one. And speaking of, what do you do to help maintain your work-life balance? Because your studio's at your house, right? Or do you have a studio space?
It is. It's in our backyard. So I am obviously I go through seasons where I can't just say no to producing something or whatever. When that's the case, I still do my best to limit my workday, even if it means that some work gets cut. The reality is, if we're doing it right and our business is growing, we are only ever going to get busier. And so it's really important to build boundaries now. And so what I do is I work 9 to 5. I try to be really strict about that. If I'm busy, I can skip lunch. That's about as far as I like want to go with that. So like last night, for example, I worked until 9:30. I broke my rule, but I did not set my alarm today, and I slept in and took my time getting ready. So today I got to work at 10. So I tried to balance it a little bit, like, and then today I'm going to be done, at a normal time. So yeah, I put in an extra couple hours or few hours there, but I made sure to rest this morning. So I try to offset that. And yeah, that means that sometimes things get delayed, and sometimes, work doesn't come out when I hope that it does. But I'm only one person. And so that's just how it has to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think those boundaries are super important because
Yeah.
when we love our work, and especially when you have a mission like you do to help refugees, like that's your deeper why. It's not just because you love painting, although your paintings are beautiful and amazing art. It's easy when you have that deeper mission to just like, oh, but if I can sell this many more cards, I can help this many more people. And then you forget about taking time for yourself. So
Exactly.
good to put that stuff in place, because if we don't take care of ourselves, then the business implodes and then you're not helping anyone. So
yeah, like last August, I learned that lesson hard. Like I got to a season of just like serious burnout, and I almost walked away from the business. And my husband, Justin, was like, just take a week. Like, I literally will not let you in the studio. Like, I'm going to lock you out. Like, you cannot come back here and work. And what ended up happening during that week was like the first like 3 days, I had such a hard time disconnecting mentally, even though I wasn't at work. All I was doing was thinking about it. And then my mom and my husband were really good to be like, you've got too much of your identity like in this. Like, you're more than this. You really need this time. And so I actually ended up taking an extra week. And during that time, I found I didn't miss work. I like picked up some hobbies. I literally just like sat sometimes. And then I came back and I realized that I got clarity on some of my burnout and my frustrations. We ended up completely changing our style and redoing our line, like a lot of it. And it's been the best thing that we did for our business. Like, now I love what I make. I love how I make it. And I learned, that's when I set in those boundaries about, this is when I go to work. This is when I go inside. And if I work late because I have to, I start work late, that kind of thing. And it's made such a difference.
I love that. It's good advice. It's very hard to stick to. And so I appreciate hearing your journey with it. And I think what's interesting about this pandemic, and it's going to get so much worse. And so I'm not discounting the effect that it's having on health and all of the negative effects that it's going to have. And at the same time, I'm seeing a lot of people take a moment to pause and reflect and reevaluate their priorities. And so I think that that's one upside, and we don't know yet how bad the downsides are going to get. And so it's hard to sit here and say, oh, there's a positive. But I think that it is a positive when we can take time to stop and think about, what we've been doing on our day-to-day and haven't taken the time to stop. And this just happens to be forcing us to do that.
Yep, absolutely.
But there's a lot of good takeaways when you do stop and say, like, what's actually important to me, and get out of that gotta do mentality that you're in just on a daily basis.
Oh, yeah. I love that. I mean, we got to look for the upsides, right?
Yeah. Yep. That's how we get through it, I think.
Yep.
So I'm going to wrap it up here, but I would love for you to tell us where we can find you on the internet, for people who never heard of your brand before. They just listened to us chat and they're like, oh my gosh, I love Taylor. I love Pin and Pillar. Where should they go?
Yes, thank you. So we are online at pinandpillar.com. The and is spelled out, pin and pillar.
Mm-hmm.
And we are on Instagram at pin and pillar. And
Awesome.
Pinterest,
Oh,
pinterest.com/pinandpillar.
awesome. Yeah, I always forget about Pinterest. I need to work on that. Maybe that's something I'll do during our pandemic shutdown is work on my Pinterest page.
There you go.
Yeah. The Instagram, I love following y'all on Instagram because my favorite thing that you post a bunch of different things, but my favorite thing that you post is when you're painting and the videos of you painting. It's so soothing to watch you painting. And it's cool to see that is going to turn into a product in the future, and it's just like you doing the work to begin with. So I would definitely recommend that everyone go follow Pin and Pillar on Instagram. We also carry Pin and Pillar products, obviously, in the store. We have a selection of cards and some of the notebooks and the meal planning pads. So they have way more on their website. But if you're coming into the store or you're shopping remotely while we're shut down, you can purchase some of those products. And I'm happy to show you what we have when y'all reach out. Okay, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. I really loved hearing a little bit more about your story, and I knew that I loved working with you, but now I love working with you even more. So thank you so much, and we'll talk sometime soon.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.